The monarchy will end because of you. Once muttered in the halls of power, these terrifying words are now being yelled from rooftops by royal. Both constitutional scholars and experts. Currently, an astounding 77% of British citizens think that King Charles III should resign right away and give Prince William the throne in order to prevent an impending disaster for the House of Windsor. Thank you for joining us for this in-depth examination of a crisis that has the potential to drastically alter the British landscape, dear viewers. Forever, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel before we reveal the shocking details of the abdication plan. Press the alert button. We are able to keep providing you with these in-depth reports on the stories that thanks to your support. Most important to our past and future, the monarchy in Britain, an establishment that has endured. After a millennium of internal conflict, revolutions, and wars, it is currently experiencing what many consider to be its most vulnerable period in modern history. This storm is centered on a domestic enemy rather than a foreign one, the Prince Andrew's continuing poisonous legacy and his connection to the late Jeffrey Epstein, as King Charles III has publicly supported the victims of Epstein's crimes and taken steps to modernize the firm, but his younger brother's shadow refuses to fade. Most recently, renowned royal biographer Andrew Looney raised the alarm. Looney has sparked a new controversy with the publication of his thought-provoking book, The Rise and Fall of the House of York Music. Of discussion, he implies that the royal family may only have one because the Epstein saga has taken such a toll on them. How to get out? King Charles III's voluntary abdication of music is that route which was previously unimaginable. The sentiment is not unique to historians and biographers. A recent survey by well-known Dan Wooten outspoken platform exposed a startling discrepancy in public trust when questioned about whether Prince William should succeed the king in abdication because of the Despite the ongoing Andrew scandal, only 23% of respondents thought Charles should continue to hold the throne, while nearly 77% of respondents said yes. This goes beyond simple dissatisfaction. There is a general consensus that the people are prepared for a new era, the reign of King William v. We must examine what critics refer to as the Andrew factor in order to comprehend how we arrive at this conclusion. For many years, the general public has watched in increasing annoyance as Prince Andrew has stayed sheltered in the royal lodge, seemingly oblivious to the full repercussions of his behavior. Despite losing his patronages and military titles, he still leads a reasonably opulent life, allegedly organizing social events and refusing to leave his mansion, which has 30 rooms. For the typical citizen, this appears to be a leadership failure. The story is starting to make more sense. You can't expect a king to handle the difficulties of a country if he can't handle the turmoil in his own family. Charles is thought to be gentle, a leader who puts brotherly love ahead of the crown's moral standing. This alleged vulnerability is the fuel for the discussion of abdication. Charles is perceived by the public as a man who is reluctant to undergo the required surgery to remove what many refer to as the tumor of the Andrew affair from the monarchy's body. Prince William now enters. More and more people view the Prince of Wales as the enforcer. William is thought to have a steely resolve, in contrast to his father. Reports indicate that he is not interested in seeing his uncle Andrew return to public life in any way, and is much more inclined to adopt the tough stance required to safeguard the organization he will eventually inherit. Because of this temperamental difference, many people are advocating for the switch to occur as soon as possible. However, what would the actual process of such a transition be? It's not as easy as giving someone a set of keys. Renowned royal analyst and constitutional specialist Rafe Hadel-Manu recently revealed music down the specifics of this possible scheme. William, abdication is a constitutional provision in the British system. A minefield, in contrast to numerous monarchies in Europe like Denmark, where Queen Margrethe II recently resigned as an The British tradition is one of service until death, an act of love for her nation and her successor. Actually, Britain is among the few monarchies still in existence where abdication is not commonplace. Popes like Benedict have been seen 16th step down. European kings and queens have performed similar acts to those of Muslim music potentates. However, the spectre of 1936 in the United Kingdom, when Edward VII abdicated out of love and almost overthrew the monarchy, still haunts Buckingham Palace's corridors. Charles would have to sign what is called the instrument of abdication if he decided to resign. However, the king cannot just step down on his own because the UK is a constitutional monarchy. The choice would need to be privately communicated to the Prime Minister, and in order to be implemented, specific legislation would need to be passed by Parliament. Beyond the boundaries of the United Kingdom, the intricacy continues. One transnational is King Charles. Monarch, in addition to Canada, Australia, New Zealand and Jamaica, he is the head of state of 15 other realms. In order for an abdication to be enforceable globally, each of these countries would need to either agree to the UK's laws or enact their own legislation. This poses a serious risk in nations such as Jamaica or Australia. An abdication might be the perfect impetus for these countries to break their ties with the monarchy in areas where republican movements are already gaining ground. Altogether, there is the religious element in addition to the music legalities. The king is the Church of England's highest authority. In music, an abdication is the breaking of a vow in front of God during the coronation, which we all saw not too long ago. For a man with such a strong spirituality as Charles, he would only make this sacrifice as a last resort if he thought his lingering presence was actively destroying the very thing he spent 70 years getting ready to defend. The Commonwealth is not the only source of the pressure. Senior U.S. government officials are starting to voice their opinions across the Atlantic. Congressman Roe K. In a recent interview with Sky News, Connor issued a direct warning. According to him, the British monarchy is presently at its weakest moment. If the king and queen do not give clear answers, he proposed, it might spell the end of the monarchy based on what they knew about Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. According to Connor, merely depriving Andrew of a title is insufficient for the contemporary world. He feels that Andrew ought to be obliged to testify and respond to inquiries from committees, stating that the proper penalty is more than simply losing your status as a prince. That must not be all there is. Charles is in an impossible situation because of this international scrutiny. Place, he is torn music between his responsibilities as a sovereign to uphold the law and his role as a protective brother. Dignity and openness of the monarchy. This circumstance also compels us to reflect on the late Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Millions of people adored her, but history is starting to see her treatment of Prince Andrew more critically. Tina Brown, a former editor of Vanity Fair and royal biographer, has pointed out that the late Queen has a lot to answer for in relation to her favourite son. Brown claims that the Queen horribly aided Andrew, shielding him from the repercussions of his deeds and serving as his sole client in effect. Although this maternal protection makes sense from a human standpoint, it might have unintentionally made the circumstances worsened, leaving Charles to inherit a mess that had been ignored for many years. Charles now stands at a turning point. He faces a symbolic gun barrel that could blow up everything he owns: music. He waited all his life to succeed. He now has the opportunity to put his idea of a more compact monarchy into reality. But the very scandals he hoped to escape are weighing him down. The past parallels are difficult to overlook. When Denmark's Queen Margrethe II declared her abdication, she used the realizing that Crown Prince Frederik, her son, was prepared, and that the organization required the vitality of a new generation to endure the difficulties of the 21st century. Would Charles think the same of himself? Is it possible for him to present his abdication as a defeat but as a last act of service without self-interest? He could move aside to make room for William, who is now at the peak of his popularity, to begin his rule free of the particular family baggage that has plagued Charles for half a century. There is nothing more at stake should Charles remain and the Andrew controversy persist. Music. The cries for a republic could become so loud that they fester. He runs the risk of causing a constitutional crisis worldwide if he leaves. Commonwealth and the possibility of countries seceding from the monarchy. According to the data, 77% of those who are requesting King William V, it is evident that the public's tolerance for music is waning. They desire a monarchy that embodies their principles of strength, accountability, openness, and transparency. William and Catherine exhibit those traits, and they are beginning to wonder why they should wait another 10 or 20 years for the transition to take place. Thus, we must pose the challenging questions: is Charles's tenderness an indication of a kind monarch, or will the House of Windsor fall because of this fatal flaw? Is William genuinely prepared to assume the responsibilities of the throne in such a tumultuous environment, and possibly the majority of? More importantly, can the monarchy withstand the Epstein shadow without undergoing a significant upheaval at the highest level? Please leave your comments in the remarks below. We appreciate the variety of viewpoints our audience contributes to these intricate problems, and we read them all. Please like this video and share it with others who follow the royal family's stories if you thought this analysis was insightful. Your participation enables us to continue this and reach more people. Important discussion in progress. Many thanks. Thank you for being here with us today. We'll keep an eye on this developing narrative and provide you with updates as they come out of the palace and outside. Up until, be careful and stay informed the next time. This has been an in-depth exploration of the Crown's future. I appreciate you observing.